Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Cover One Buffalo Postgame Show presented by Uncle Jumbo's American Vodka. I am your host tonight, Aaron Quinn, while Greg Thompson's out up in the sky somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean, jet setting in one of those fancy pods on a jet somewhere that you see in commercials for all the rich people that jet set all over the world. So, Greg, we miss you tonight. Hopefully I don't screw up this show too bad without you here. I've been getting used to having Greg on. It's been over a year now doing shows with Greg, so it feels a little weird. It's like when you forget your watch or something at home or leave your phone at home. I almost feel naked without him. So we miss you, Greg. Can't wait to have you back on the show. But we are here to talk about yet another Buffalo Bills win. That's 6 on the year. That means you get to go to work or whatever you do on Mondays with another Buffalo Bills Victory Monday. So we're going to talk about it. Before we talk about it, though, I do want to talk about our show is presented by Uncle Jumbo's. It's distilled right here in Clarence, New York, farm to distillery. I think that's how they call it. And they have a bunch of different products. They have their Uncle Jumbo's Country Lemonade, the Uncle Jumbo's Berry Good, and then they have the Uncle Jumbo's American Vodka. I urge you to head out to wherever you can, find it, go get in touch with those guys, find it at your local store, get it. They also sell the cans of the ready to drink. It's like a blueberry ready to drink mixed drink. I didn't pick it up. I was supposed to go pick it up this Saturday. Ended up having a surprise date night, so I had to cancel going to pick up the vodka. But I was going to bring it to the game this weekend, and I'm pretty disappointed I didn't because it was a very cold day out there today, and I think everybody that was with me at my tailgate could use some nice vodka to warm up our blood a little bit. So thank you to Uncle Jumbo's as being a presenting sponsor of this show. We can't do it without them, guys. So make sure that you head over to Twitter, wherever they are on social media, follow Uncle Jumbo's and let them know that you appreciate them supporting this show. And who doesn't like drinking some vodka? So I wish I had some right here, right now, because Twitter's been a fire. Everything's been a little bit of a fire after a 6-2 start, the best record in 26 years for our Buffalo Bills, and people aren't happy about it. So we'll talk about it. We see people talking in the chat here. I appreciate all the Slack members that have come into the chat here to join me in Greg's absence. So let's get right into it tonight. It's just me. It's going to be a pretty quick show here, guys. We're going to go through some of the normal stuff with just myself. So Bills-Redskins, a game I think everybody thought they should win. I don't know about you guys, but I felt pretty nervous leading up to this game just with how poorly the Bills had played the last 2 games. And they played down to competition against Miami, and then they got beat pretty bad against good competition against the Philadelphia Eagles. And what I saw out of the Redskins when I watched film was a team that's not good, doesn't have a lot of stars, has just enough talent to kind of hang in a game. But they went toe-to-toe with the Minnesota Vikings up until Haskins came in. I thought they had a good chance to beat the Vikings, and I think the Vikings are a pretty good team. I think they're probably similar to the Buffalo Bills, if not a little bit better in certain positions, maybe a little bit more steady. But I think that's a good measuring stick when you're watching film. I think the Vikings and Bills are totally out of whack of comparables. And so I saw that game and I saw them hanging in that game, and I didn't think that it was going to be the blowout that maybe some fans were expecting in this game. And at the start of the game, the Bills came out hot. They got 10 points in the first quarter. They were up 17-6 at halftime. So they were doing some good things, and I frankly thought they were dominating the game. We heard some boos at the stadium because they kneeled at halftime. I thought that was a little weird because it felt to me as though they really had dominated that first half. We saw a really effective first quarter from Josh Allen. He started to slow down as the game went on. The play calling got a little more conservative, which I think that led to some of the fans' frustration, but I can see why they got conservative in this game. You have a team that's really running the ball really well. The defense had a really terrible time stopping the run in the first half. Obviously, later in the game, they corrected those issues and were able to stop it later in the game. But they struggled a little bit here in the first half. So you don't want to come out and get too pass happy with a lead against a team like that, because a few mistakes give that team the ability to get back in this game, because you get them the ball back. Maybe they don't get in the end zone, but if they kick a couple more field goals, they really make that a football game. So I understand the dialing it back and get a little more conservative, running the clock, playing with the lead, because I think that they did trust this defense to not allow the Redskins to score on them, and they thought that they could continue to score. And they actually did a really nice job on the ground. Devin Singletary, a guy that I was pretty hard on the last couple of weeks, 20 carries. Everybody's been calling for it on Twitter. Got his 20 carries, ended up with 95 yards, 4.8 yards per carry. He also had a few touches. What do you have? 3 receptions for 45 yards. Took that big one, that big screen pass, made a beautiful play with it. I was totally wrong about Devin Singletary, and I'm totally fine with that. I was just saying before we went live to some of the guys here in the Slack channel, I'll never be one of these guys that just sees a limited amount of production and says, you know what, give that guy 20 carries. I'm always going to err on the side of I need to see the production before I'm just going to say, you know what, give this guy everything and let him take it to the house. I've seen the production from Devin Singletary now, and I'm not worried about him being able to carry that load against an NFL defense. And the Redskins have a pretty good run defense. But when I watched them on film, I did see some ability for the run game this week to have some success. And we saw it. They had a great day on the run game. Frank Gore struggled a little bit. That's okay. I think they put him in some positions that weren't advantageous for him against this team. They really got more on the outside with Devin Singletary this week, and they went to it and they fed it, and he had a fantastic game. So I do not mind being wrong about that. One thing I want to talk about, though, is there seems to be for some frustration with Brian Daboll after this game. And I know that he had a couple issues in the red zone. One of the times they got down the red zone, they had the jet sweep play that went really poorly to McKenzie. That play has been really successful for them this year. So I have a hard time looking at that play and saying, you know what, that play, we got to get rid of that play, or we can't do that anymore. Because that's one of those plays that's been very successful in that similar position. It just didn't go well. That's an execution error. That I don't know that was a play call error per se. We'll see when we see the tape. He did get a little cute in that particular series down in the red zone. And then when we were down, he ran the ball 4 times in a row to Frank Gore. I would have liked to have seen a QB sneak there, but Frank Gore has been successful in those situations a lot this year. So I understand going to that well. You'd like to see him do a little bit more. Daboll called a flawed game at times, but you don't score 24 points, have a 95-yard rusher, have a really effective and efficient day from Josh Allen, and not call a good game for parts of that game. Brian Daboll participated in this win, no matter what fans out there want to say. So he's far from perfect. He's not the best offensive coordinator in the league right now. He's not horrendous. He's not horrible. He shouldn't be fired. The Bills are 6-2. I think their DVOA is going to go up in a lot of categories. They were already the 6th overall team in DVOA in the rushing game so far this year, and that was a jump from the bottom 10 last year to the top 10 this year. So the running game has really accelerated this year, and I expect that to go up. And I think the passing DVOA will go up this week. Josh Allen was very efficient. So I expect all those numbers to go up. And if they can continue to play like that, I expect them to go up incrementally throughout the year. And I think Daboll's doing a fine job. I don't think he's doing great. I don't think he's doing poorly. I think there's somewhere in the middle, and that's where he exists. But Josh Allen is also getting a hard time because when you look at just the stat line, you see 160 yards and 1 touchdown. I think everybody immediately thinks, well, that's what we got out of Tyrod Taylor. So why did we get rid of Tyrod Taylor? But yes, that is true. That is similar stats to what we got out of Tyrod. But when Tyrod was playing like that and the defense was playing well, they were winning games. Tyrod got this team to a playoff, to the playoffs with a winning record playing like that. The problem was Tyrod could never really lift people and win a game, where we've seen Josh Allen be able to do that 5 or 6 times already in a short career. We saw it once with Tyrod Taylor where he took the team. It was a Tennessee game, and he took that game over at the end. Josh Allen's shown that ability. So he's playing pretty effective since he got injured in the Patriots game. He's playing much more effective, much more efficient. But he still has that ability to make the big play, to take his team over. And so that's where I see the difference with, hey, we had Tyrod, now we have Josh Allen, and the people that were complaining about Tyrod are happy with Josh Allen. I don't think there's a lot to that. I think, Josh Allen is also in halfway through year 2 of his career. And so playing like Tyrod did 6 years into his career as a 3-year starter, I think that's a fine measuring stick. I don't think those are apples to apples comparisons. So I'm happy with a 14 to 20 day from Josh Allen. Would I like to see more gaudy stats? Yes. They got very conservative. So that doesn't concern me at all. That's not on Josh Allen. That's on Dable. That's on the game plan as a whole. When we kick it over to the other side of the ball, this is a tough one for me because I don't tend to overreact or talk really ill about the team mid-game. I put out a tweet mid-game. I was frustrated because we were told in a press conference by Leslie Frazier, we were told by Sean McDermott that they worked to fix all the issues with the run game, that was going to not be a problem moving forward this week. And I thought this was a huge test for this team because it played to the strength of the Washington Redskins. They have a good run game, especially up the middle. Adrian Peterson has really had a reemergence since Callahan took over the Redskins. And we saw it today. He had 18 carries, 108 yards, 6 yards per carry. It was all in the first half. I think he had 7 rushes or 7 yards or something like that. In the second half, he did nothing. So in the first half, I was pissed. I really was. They were getting some screen game going. They were running right up the middle. It felt like the Eagles game all over again. This team couldn't tackle. They were doing very poor job tackling. They were getting to Adrian Peterson. They just couldn't get him down. We saw it in the screen game. They got suckered into some screens again. And so I felt super frustrated because we had been told this whole thing was fixed. Wasn't going to be a problem anymore. We had a good test to see if that was going to still be a problem. And it appeared as though they were failing and that this was going to get out of control and they were going to continue to have this problem. And I think the problem's still there. They did fix it in the second half. I'm not sure what they did to fix it. We're going to have to get the film and talk to Eric and kind of get Eric's view as to what they did schematically, technique-wise, fundamentals, what fixed the second half against a team that was really just, I mean, Peterson was on his way to a 200-yard day, which would have been totally crazy. So they definitely fixed it. Can they fix that going forward? They are going to come up against some really good running backs here moving forward, and I think teams are going to continue to test them. The Redskins had enough success today on film where teams are going to look at this team moving forward when they're scouting and finding tendencies and say, hey, you know what? Let's try to establish the ground, especially right up the middle on these guys. I think Nick Chubb is a dangerous threat next week. I know the Browns are not playing particularly well right now. I'm not sure what the score of that game ended up being. I think that game's over. Yeah, they lost to the Broncos here live. So they don't have a lot to play for. They're probably going to be a desperate team, but they have talent. And again, fans are frustrated that the game was close to a team with 1 win. We're going to be playing a team next week with 2 wins, but they have the talent to push this Buffalo Bills team. And I expect a similar type game where it might be within scoring distance at some point. And that's where the Redskins were able to do. I think it was a tough test. And the Bills answered it. I think they came out in the second half. They locked that offense down. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. They didn't make Haskins look super uncomfortable the whole game. He didn't vomit all over himself like I kind of anticipated that he might. He actually played pretty decent considering being thrown into his first start against their supposedly really good defense. He didn't make mistakes. He wasn't the full reason they lost. But the Bills locked it down in the second half. They ended up scoring 1 more touchdown to really put it away. I think fans in the stadium were getting a little nervous there when it was still a 1-score game and the Bills just kind of stalled a few drives. They went for it on 4th down instead of it taking a field goal at some point. I think that was in the 4th quarter, late in the 3rd. And fans were a little on edge. This game's a little too close. But I personally never felt that way. I felt there's no way that this Redskins team is going to score a touchdown on this Bills team. They may have gotten another field goal or something silly like that. But I just felt this team's locked in. There's no way this team's going to score against the Bills. And anyone that's not happy about how they're winning, I don't know what to tell you guys. It's been 26 years since they had a start like this. This team, if you're not happy with the way the Buffalo Bills have started their season at 6-2, even with some ugly wins, and we talk about it a lot on this show, a win's a win's a win. If you're not happy with how they're playing, I think that your personal expectations got out of whack at some point. I don't know where it got out of whack. I'm assuming it got out of whack with that huge start. Maybe at the beginning of the season, you didn't expect them to be a good team. Maybe you thought they were a 7-8 win team, and then you saw them get off to a hot start and said, oh, shoot, we got something. We could be a 13-win team, 14-win team. We can compete with the Patriots. We can make a run at the playoffs. We can go to the Super Bowl. And I think I saw a lot of that. I think I saw a lot of people looking ahead. Jo saying the Pats game was deceiving. You're right. That was a deceiving game because I think we used that as a measuring stick, and they played close against the Pats. And that was a game that they very well could have won if they played a little bit cleaner. And I think that people walked away from that game saying, hey, we could compete for the division. I didn't ever get there just because we're not the Patriots. They're not the Patriots team. This is a team that's in a totally different position. They're still building towards that type of long, sustainable success that the Patriots had. In order to get there, it's going to take years. It's going to be a little bit ugly to start. It's going to feel slow. The progress is going to be incremental. While they're doing all this progress in the background and building these young players up, getting these guys in situational football that matters, that they can teach these guys, continue to teach them the fundamentals, teach them how to be an NFL player, a core that's all in their first, second, and third years of your main core players. They're still picking up wins. They're a 6-2 team with all of that going on in the background. And they're winning some games that I think are going to do them justice or be favorable to them later in the year. They're winning close games. They're coming back to win games. I think all those lessons and the confidence and all those things that you build up throughout the season, when you win games like that, I think it's going to come in handy in December when they're fighting for a playoff spot. Because I do think they'll be fighting for that last playoff spot with a couple teams that might surprise some people. They're going to have to win some games, and they're going to be must-win games. And I feel confident that this team can get it done against anybody in the league if they want to. But I think people's own expectations got a little out of whack, and now they're continuing to take it out on the Bills when the Bills don't come out and dominate a team that they should, like the Miami Dolphins. But if you're going to say that they didn't dominate this game today, I think it was borderline a dominating performance. They held them to 3 field goals. They dominated for the most part of the game. They had the domination on the time of possession. I think it ended a little bit. They were only up 31 to 28 minutes on time of possession, but for a good stretch of that first half, they had dominated that. They dominated third down efficiency. Redskins were 2 of 11. Bills were 50% at 6 of 12. I'd like to see that percentage a little bit higher, but they controlled that. They had 18 first downs to 12 first downs. So, and for a while, that was a bigger margin. The Redskins kind of got some later on in kind of garbage time. So they pretty much dominated this game as best as I think that this Bills team will dominate a game. I don't think you're ever going to see them be the Patriots and come out and drop 40 on a team and be a 40-3 game or anything like that. I think this is about as dominant of a performance that you're going to see out of this game or out of this team. And I think you're going to see a lot more games that are similar to some of the ones they've already won this year, where they're kind of hanging in it and they pull it out at the end. I think that's going to be what it is. Yeah, Mike L saying, wow, the Browns are open up as favorites. I think that is where people think this Bills team is. They haven't proven that they're a top team in the AFC, and I don't mind that. I don't mind people sleeping on this team. I want people to continue to sleep on this team because for me, as a fan who's been beat down for so many years by this team, I don't need Good Morning Football and all these talk shows to be talking them up as real competitors for the AFC and then them totally let everybody in the fan base down. I think this is a mediocre team that has a schedule that can play to a 10 to 11 win team, and that can be good enough for the 6th seed in the playoffs. And if they get there, if they're a 10, 11 win team, and even if they lose, they get to the playoffs and lose, that's a super successful season for me after going 6-10 a year ago. They already have 6 wins now. So the incremental progress is there, guys. If your expectations are way out of whack and you demand perfection from this team, that's fine. I'm not telling you how to feel about this team. I'm only going to tell you you're going to be let down every week and you're going to be mad every week. And I don't watch football and enjoy this team to just be pissed off about it all the time. That's why I try to keep my expectations where I think is a reasonable level of what to expect. And I urge everybody to kind of get to that spot because it's going to get rough here. We got some rough games coming up on the schedule. I think they're going to drop a few here upcoming. I think somebody said there's a chance they go 3-1 in the next few games. I think that's true, but as the schedule gets a little bit closer towards the end of the season where we have the Ravens, the Patriots again, stuff like that, the Cowboys, I think it's going to be a tough game. there could be some ugly games in that, and doesn't make them a bad team. It doesn't make them anything like that. So I just think people need to dial back their expectations. There's nothing to really pull away from this game and say, I'm pissed about the way the Bills won 24-9. I think there's some things you can say, hey, I'd like to see some improve. I'd like to see more consistency from Brian Dable. I'd like to see the defense put together a full game and not get pushed around for a half on the run. I'd like to see whatever it is, more execution down in the red zone. I'm all for criticism. I'm all for flaws. But at the end of the day, from the big picture view, beating a team in the NFL 24-9 is a good thing. There's no other way to look at it. You really kind of dominated the game, not in the traditional sense, like I said, like the Patriots dominate games, but for being a mediocre team, this is a dominating game. And I think that's about as dominating as it'll get. Yeah, Cowboys and Ravens are going to be rough games. You're right, guys. Let's get to our favorite segment, at least mine and Greg's favorite segment, the gruntled, disgruntled. This week is super, super easy for me. Devin Singletary is totally my gruntled. It's not even close. He was all the difference in this game. Running the ball, vision, showing that the lack of athleticism that was talked about in the draft isn't true, because he has enough breakaway speed to make big plays consistently. A threat in the passing game. He did a lot with all of his touches today. I was super impressed by him. I'm on board. Get Devin Singletary the ball, and I don't think I'll ever get off that train now. So totally love what I saw out of Devin Singletary. All the people in my mentions all week on Twitter were totally right, at least for now. And I loved what I saw out of him. As I said, winning 24-9 is hard to really look disgruntled at anybody. I ultimately came down to two, because the last field goal was totally Corey Borka's fault. And Greg, I know that's your boy. I know that's your fan club, but I'm sorry. He had a terrible pun, and that allowed the Redskins to get within one score of the Buffalo Bills in this game and make it feel closer than the game actually was. Corey Borkas is so inconsistent. The other one I had was just the Bills' defense in the first half, and Leslie Frazier because of that, because, again, we were told it wasn't going to be like that. So I had a tough time picking. Ultimately, my disgruntled is going to go to the Bills defense, and only the first half defense, because the second half defense was a totally different team. They totally turned it around. But that first half, guys, was such a letdown, in my opinion, because of what we were told in the media, because releasing Kyle Pecco and bringing up Vincent Taylor, I think all right, we're really committed to stopping the run. They have done this all week long. There's no way this team's going to come out and run down our throat. And they were on a pace to allowing Adrian Peterson to have a 200-yard day. And that, to me, was super unacceptable. I was actually mad at the Bills. And I'm not a guy that gets, like I said, I'm not a guy that gets emotional or thinks that way in game about the team, but I was very upset. So they're getting my disgruntled, although I think ultimately Corey Borkas allowing them to get that late field goal because of poor field position, just one of the worst punts I've ever seen, I think had more of a significant impact for one play or for what that person did in the game. Because they could have taken that momentum and run with it, and the Bills did allow them to be at an arm's length for a minute. So Corey Borkas is definitely a runner-up for the gruntled, but I'm sticking with the defense in the first half. They are my gruntled. So if you guys got any questions in the chat, we're going to wrap this up here, just because it's hard to just talk by yourself for a long period of time. If you guys have any questions, I'm just going to tell you again, our presenting sponsor of the show is Uncle Jumbo's American Vodka. If you guys don't know, this is a fun fact about me. Grover Cleveland that's who the company's named after, is Grover Cleveland. And I didn't know that when they became a sponsor, which stinks, because Grover Cleveland's one of my very favorite presidents. He's one of my favorite Buffalo celebrities or icons. His statue's down at the City Hall. I love walking by a Grover. I think he's just a cool president. He was the 22nd and 24th president. He's the only guy to serve non-consecutive presidential terms. He passed the bar in New York without going to law school. He's the first president, I think, to not have a college education. He just did so many cool things, just a super unique guy. But so Uncle Jumbo's is named after him. And again, this is stuff that is farm to distillery. They grow it here, they make it here, right here in Clarence. You can't beat it. It's made from corn that they buy from all the local farms. It's gluten-free. They've distilled it 24 times using double copper column reflux vodka still. I don't even know what that means, but it sounds so cool. I'm hoping to get over to Uncle Jumbo's here soon, and when I do, I'll take some video. We'll make some content out of it. I can't wait to get over there for you guys so you can see what it's like. For anyone that's not local, I think it'll be cool. If you are local, make sure that you show them that you care about them supporting our content and being a sponsor of the show, and make sure you get out there and support the people that support us and keep this content coming to you guys. Looking over here, see if we get the questions. What do we get? Honorable mention, Levi got run over by AP. Yeah, that was a bad one. But you know what? Levi had a pretty good game outside of that. So here's the thing. I saw somebody tweet, I think it was Sal from the Sal Moriana, or however you say his name, tweeted out a pretty insulting tweet about Levi Wallace getting run over on that AP tweet. And you know what, man? If you expect guy with a frame and a size like Levi Wallace to go up against Adrian Peterson and win that battle, I got bad news for you. He's not. It looked really bad. I'll give him that. It was a bad looking way to go up against him, but Adrian Peterson's a big guy, and I think a lot of people in this league one-on-one aren't going to take him down. You got to gang tackle him. So I wasn't too mad at Levi. He tried. He got in the way. He tried to slow him down, and it just didn't work out very well for Eli. Trying to see, we got any other questions here, guys? It looks like the chat's just going. So we're going to wrap it up today, guys. You know where to find me. You can find me at Aaron Quinn 716 on Twitter, usually arguing with people. I try to keep a cool demeanor going. Sometimes people get me going, so it's fun to watch that. So come over and watch me there. Follow Greg Thompson at Greg Thompson. He always spells it. I'm not going to spell it for you. You guys are smart people. You can find Greg if you're not already following him. He's going to be back with us next week after he's been through, perusing Europe or wherever he's going, drinking fine liquors and whatever he's up to over there. He'll be back. Make sure you head over to cover1.net. If you don't already follow, if you're not already a premium subscriber, obviously I'm not talking to all these fantastic fans that are in the chat room here live that are already Slack premium subscribers with us. If you aren't, make sure you head over there and subscribe. Make sure you go over to our YouTube channel, click the subscribe like button there. You'll get all of our content as soon as it's up. Download the Cover One app, do it all. Make sure you head over there. Fernando's working up some content right now. I just saw the Slack notifications going for Fernando's post-game stuff. We are working hard to deliver you as much good content as we can, guys. We'll be back this Wednesday. I think Greg's still out for Wednesday, so I'm looking for a guest to talk about the Browns. I think I got a good guy lined up. It's going to be a fun week. It's a big game, and I can't wait to see how the Bills are able to maybe stack a couple wins here, and then maybe get those guys that had the crazy expectations saying, see, I told you so. I told you they were a 14-win team, because that's going to be fun banter over on Twitter. So I appreciate you guys all listening to me just drag on here for a half hour by myself talking about this game. I'm super excited. Last week was really defeating. It was a long week. It was hard to get through the week after a loss like that. This is a really nice pick-me-up, beating a team that you're supposed to beat at home in front of your fans. Really good football weather. This feels good. I'm going to just savor this victory for the next few days. I'm just going to enjoy it. I'm going to argue with everyone on Twitter that wants to argue about that it was bad. I'm just going to live it up, and then we're going to be on to the Browns. So join us this Wednesday when we get back onto the Browns, and look forward to the next matchup and hopefully stacking some wins. So thanks for coming out tonight, guys, and we are out.